Hi, I'm Torte. Despite nerfs to a lot of ranged heroes at 7.37E, one ranged hero stands tall and has prevailed for the majority of this patch, Morphling. As of right now, Morphling is one of the most popularly played and successful heroes of this patch, but what makes Morphling strong is both the result of the meta for what players are looking for with a position 1 carry, but also just how efficient Morphling is in achieving those expectations. What's more is that in this version of Morphling, he is honestly the easiest to learn and play, making him a comfortable pickup for a lot of players, especially those at the highest level. Let's break it down real quick for y'all. So while heroes like Medusa, Luna, and Shadow Fiend have fallen to the wayside with the release of patch 7.27E, Morphling is still popular because the hero wasn't nerfed and still follows the definition of this meta: fast farming, easy laning, and quick games. Morphling won't exactly beat the offlaner out of the lane, but it's also very unlikely that Morphling will ever feel too threatened to leave his lane either. So what you end up having is a hero that comfortably lasts hits and is unperturbed with whoever he's up against, with some exceptions of course. But just with a level and attribute shift, you have a hero that can easily last hit with his ranged auto attack and surplus of damage from his agility. He starts out with a magic wand, both for the stats to again last hit, but also because magic wand collects charges from the spells enemy offlaners use to harass Morphling. And then Morphling takes those charges, attribute shifts all his strength into agility to lower his maximum health pool. So when he activates his magic wand charges, he gains full life, which will scale up as he attribute shifts his agi back to some strength. So by doing this, you effectively turn all the harassment you would take from the offlaner back at them and create a very secure laning period for Morphling. So with Morphling being difficult to kick out of the lane, it makes his ramp up to the jungle all the more facilitated. With his first time after treads being Morbid Mask, the hero has plenty of sustain to jungle comfortably, especially since he can attribute shift again to a lower strength attribute number to then gain that life back to full before attribute shifting back to agility. We mentioned how this meta is about easy laning as well as fast farming. Well, Morphling farms incredibly quickly thanks to his innate ability accumulation. It reads, Morphling receives 50% of stat growth bonuses every half level instead of the full bonus at level up. No one gives a rat ass about that part. It's about the second sentence. Morphling receives plus 100% bonus stats from all attributes bonus from skill points in the talent tree. Well, you pretty much slap my ass and call me for dinner. That is one hot free innate ability. Basically, any time you skill points in your attributes next to the talent tree, you get double the value. That means more agility for more damage and attack speed. More strength, which you can then attribute shift to agility for, you guessed it, more damage and attack speed. Lastly, you also get way more intelligence, which you can then use to spam waveform to maneuver between the lane and jungle camps, as well as to farm stacks more quickly. And that's the other half of the formula and what is making Morphling such an incredible farmer and eventually carry. Ever since patch 7.36a, Morphling's waveform applies 50% of his attack damage as he passes through his targets. So as your teammates stack jungle camps for you, you clear them out with waveform and with ease. What's great about this meta is that a lot of heroes that do well versus Morphling are on the out. Ancient Apparition, Ancient Mage, Legion Commander aren't so hot right now. And what's incredible is that a lot of popular ganking mids in this meta also help elevate Morphling better in terms of team fights, like Puck and Queen of Pain, both giving Morphling more maneuverability on a low cooldown because he'll use his ultimate ability to replicate them. So what that means is you as Morphling are not beholden to your waveform being available. Thus, waveform can be used for essentially free attacks through your target enemy heroes, with adaptive strike for more nuke, then pop the blink or illusory orb to get out and reset your positioning and do it all over again. To add, popular items against Morphling have also been nerfed, like Spirit Vessel, so Morphling has less to fear in terms of those item counters. Alas, the popularity of Morphling is also angling the meta against him. Doom's Doom is a great shutdown against the hero, and Doom is already pretty popular, whereas Batrider at the position 4 showed a lot of viability at ESL 1 Bangkok and can lock down Morphling with a lasso long enough for his team to finish the watery guy. And of course, one of my favorite mids, Lina, as a magic dealer, evaporates Morphling earlier than it takes for Morphling to come online, so heads up on that. I've also personally had some success with Terrorblade as a position 3 in bullying Morphling out of the lane with just reflection, if you can believe it, so check out my video about Terrorblade offlane for that. So regarding skill build, it's pretty straightforward. 1. Max out waveform first. Again, don't forget that Morphling's waveform now attacks all targets it goes through with 50% of Morph's attack damage, so he farms like crazy. 2. We grab 1 to 2 points in attribute shift during the laning stage for that regeneration trick we talked about. And 3, you can put a point in adaptive strike if you want to push back on the offlaner with the strength version, since if your attributes are over 50% strength, you stun for the maximum duration and really push enemies back. And lastly, 4, after all that, start dumping points in attributes because of your innate ability that we spoke about before. I know I gave some situational value in your ultimate ability, but early on or even some matchups, you really don't find yourself using it all that much and thus might not skill it until much later. You usually end up being just outright more efficient hitting your opponents with your attack, and what's more is that when you morph into someone else, you get their health pool but not their mana. So using other hero spells on your teeny tiny mana pool is seldom worthwhile when you need that mana for your waveform and adaptive strike to nuke down frail targets. Lastly, your talents are no-brainers. The waveform range at level 10, more agility talent, thus damage at level 15, then the overpowered 20 talent of 75% waveform attack damage and applies on hit effects. This talent is very strong because additional attack effects like Daedalus or Eye of Skadi will now work even when waveforming. To finish, lower waveform cooldown at 25 evidently. Talking about itemization, we mentioned Magic Wand and Morphin Mask fairly early on. Soon after, we get Vladimir's Offering, which synergizes with Morphling on 2 levels. It gives you some much needed mana regeneration to go along with your enlarged mana pool from putting skill points in your stats, but what's more is that it gives a bonus of 18% to your base damage, which Morphling has nothing but that, since all his damage is coming from his agility, increased by your attribute shift to top it all off. Heading into the mid game, we opt for Manta Style for the inherent movement speed, much needed Dispel against Orchid, a common counter against you, as well as the illusions allows you to split farm very well since those illusions have all your damage from the massive amount of agility you're walking around with between your legs. If you really need it, you can get a Black King bar. Now late game you have a choice. 1. Conda is still good even with its nerfs in 7.37e. It's picked up if you find yourself trying to wrap the game early and want to nuke down your enemies with Adaptive Strike to then finish the game off. Or 2. Daedalus for more of the right click style of the hero late in the game. Obviously it takes longer to farm for that more expensive item, but you will be more consistent with your damage output and damaging at a higher critical rate. And to wrap it all up, your classic Butterfly and Satanic. Don't forget you can disassemble Vladimir's Offering to make Satanic so that you'll save a pretty penny. Evidently, the Butterfly gives you evasion to give you more defensiveness to match your higher armor gains from your agility, and Satanic to round out the whole thing. High damage with your strong armor, and evading attacks means shutting Morphling down is just as unlikely. So, in summary, Morphling may not be the easiest hero to get into if you're trying to learn how to carry. For that, I recommend Dragonite, which you can watch my previous video on. But with that said, this is the easiest time to learn Morphling because his build and playstyle is fairly straightforward and easy to comprehend. You play safe during the Lini stage, you Giga Farm during the mid game, and you come out prepped and ready to right click your foes, and don't forget to waterboard those weak ass supports to quickly wipe them out and shift the fight into a 4 versus 5 situation. The big challenge for Morphling is dealing with Alchemist and Dragonite, who have the regeneration and survivability to outlast Morphling's initial nuke damage from Adaptive Strike and can easily gank with their ranged stuns and fast damage dealing. Alrighty y'all, that's pretty much it for me. Be sure to let me know in the comments below how Morphling has been working out for ya. If you like these videos or my Dota 2 guides, please, you got to be supporting the channel either by clicking the join on the video below to become a paying member, or you can subscribe on Twitch. Don't forget you can even subscribe on Twitch for free using your Amazon Prime. Your support keeps the guides and this educational channel going, and I'd really appreciate the help. Thanks and happy holidays.